Hello and welcome to the Bachelor Forecast, the show where we will break down each week's episode and tell you what to look ahead to in your fantasy league, wherever that might be. Hello, I'm Brad Milkey. This is Mel Griffin.
Hi, guys.
This week we went to Rioja, the place where adorable children are just crawling all around the streets. You have to trample over them to go anywhere. And Mel, this week, we meet the parents.
We did. And, you know, I was really thrown off by this because when was the last time we met the parents of the Bachelor or Bachelorette? Not at the finale.
This is our resident Bachelor historian, Mel Griffin. Yes, this is not usual.
This is unusual. So, you know, usually the order of the last couple of episodes is you have hometowns with the four Bachelor, Bachelorettes that are left over, and then you have fantasy suite dates with the last three, and then you have Men Tell All, and then you have the final two where you meet Rachel's parents or whoever the Bachelor or Bachelorette, you meet their parents in the finale. So I'm thinking...
Is nothing sacred?
No, I'm thinking, oh my God, Chris Harrison completely messed up the whole series this season. What's going on?
Chris Harrison, the man with the plan
Chris Harrison,
himself.
the man with the power. But no, it was, I mean, I think it was, Rachel is, you know, she doesn't want it. She wants to do things her way. Yeah. So she did them her way. You know, this episode consisted of not only Peter, Eric, and Brian meeting Rachel's family, but also the fantasy suite dates.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting.
Two out of the three fantasy suite
dates. 2 out of the 3.
Dates.
It was a to be continued episode. So I thought it was very interesting that they all met her family before those fantasy suite dates because, you know, that I don't think that's happened before.
Yeah, and before we got to Marvelous Spain, of course, we met each, the family met each of these bachelors, and I guess we can just dive right into it now.
Yeah.
We started with Peter, as we see Peter, meeting this family, holding his own, telling this family, I really like Rachel. I'm like falling for her, I guess, but an engagement might not necessarily be in the picture yet.
And he had the whole speech. You know, he did the speech at the table with her family, basically saying, you know, I don't want to lose Rachel. You know, I am falling in love with Rachel. I do not want to lose her. I realized I didn't want to lose her at the last rose ceremony, how hurt I was, where I thought I was going home. He basically, you know, announced this at that dinner table, and Rachel was like, oh, this is the first time I'm even really hearing some of this stuff. So I think he was extremely open, honest. The whole family thought he was very sincere.
Hey, can we talk about how intense it is going in front of that family, by the way?
Oh my gosh, it's like you're going into, you know...
You're a family of lawyers.
Right.
It's just you're arguing your case before a Supreme Court of Lindsay's.
It's like you're going in front of a panel, getting ready to like just kind of sell yourself, and they're all sitting there like, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so Peter, I think we both agreed, did a pretty good job at the end of the day.
Fantastic job. I think that he really did. He really showed, you know, how open and honest he is and what he was really feeling. He wasn't pushing it to make it seem like something it wasn't, like some of the other ones did.
Yeah. If anything, you get the impression that Rachel's getting frustrated with him, that he seems just like a little reserved, eyes down, doesn't want to get like outside of his zone, and she's starting to get frustrated, but on the other hand, she can't get rid of him.
She can't, and I mean, I think he's the most realistic out of all of them. He's taking this the most seriously, which, you know, his realism in the situation is what makes me think he's taking it the most seriously.
Yeah. So we're talking about a guy who keeps his eyes down, he stays serious, doesn't want to get too far ahead of himself.
Right.
Let's talk about Eric.
So, you know, Eric, again, each week, and Rachel says the same thing, and so does Eric. Each week, they seem to be getting better and better, like a stronger and stronger couple as each week progresses. And I mean, this week, obviously, another huge one where.
And you seem to watch Eric exploring himself and like his he says, I've never been in love really until this moment, and this week he decided like, this is it. Like, I'm really feeling this for Rachel. I need to tell her. But first, he had to meet her family. You know, I think he, again, another one that impressed her family. I really, really feel the sincerity is what I think they're the most concerned about. And I feel like they felt that both Peter and Eric were both being completely honest, completely sincere, and that they really do both have these feelings for Rachel. So I think we have a clip. Well, yeah, I think they're impressed with Eric's honesty, but I still don't know if I think they think he's honestly a little too young. Let's take a look at this clip and watch it happen.
The original 4 guys that came on at the surprise at the end of The Bachelor?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I love how into it you are.
Okay.
Well, that was a good first impression.
Hey. Okay. So, Eric, tell us a little bit about your family, your brothers, sisters, mom, dad.
So, I have 3 sisters. My little brother is 13. But I didn't grow up in a, structured family. Like, it was very complex, Like, I never seen my mom and dad together. Like, I seen a lot of unhealthy relationships growing up. And in Baltimore, it's kind of the norm where it's a lot of single homes, a lot of single mothers. And like all the men in my family grew up in the streets. And either your mom is there or your dad is there. You don't really see the togetherness. So, you know, dealing with that as a young kid and just seeing like the dysfunctional and just the unhealthy relationships, you know, family is important to me, you know, and it's like, that's what I really want for myself is family. Family love, family bond, and just, that's what I aspire to, you know, get to.
So how did they feel last week when you met?
Everyone, you know, embraced her, they loved her. And for me, it was big to me because it's my first time in my life bringing a girl home.
So when was your last relationship, since you said you've never brought anyone home?
2015. I dated
serious
a girl.
relationship?
Yeah, I dated a girl for like 8 months. But she prepared me, you know, and I'm here with Rachel, and
I'm listening to Eric talk as we meet him. I'm watching Rachel's reaction.
Hey. I'm sorry, but I love Eric's dance. I've caught myself doing it a couple times
Swag.
this past couple
great.
of weeks. But yeah, I mean, Eric, you can see he really wants a family. He really wants this. He wants to be in love, but it's his first time falling in love. I know her family has to be skeptical.
And like to this family who is like, as he says, so together.
Yeah.
I think Eric seems sometimes to them a little like naive or a little bit kind of like from a different world a little bit, and even though they have lots of things in common and they build on these things each week, I didn't know if I necessarily saw the family buying into it.
Right, exactly.
And Rachel didn't really push back, as we will find out, I think, with Brian.
Oh,
when she
yeah.
wants something, she does push back.
And I mean, with Brian's date, you know, it started off great with her friends. So Brian was the only one to meet her friends. So of course that was interesting. And then that part went fantastic.
Yeah.
But
they kept trying to sell Rachel on like, this is
yeah.
how good you guys are together. Rachel's like, well, you know, and they were like, no, really, like you guys are great together.
They loved it. They absolutely loved their brunch. I mean, her two friends were having a blast. They were so about Rachel and Brian. But, well, who wasn't about Rachel and Brian? Well, that was her family.
Yeah. Brian, we've all talked about how the more you get to watch Brian, something ends up rubbing you the wrong way because he comes off as arrogant, he comes off as cocky, and of course that is how he showed up. That's, to me, a stranger. Imagine this girl's parents, and that's exactly sort of how he ended up coming off.
Exactly. So, I mean, it was very, you know, he's the smooth talker. He's the one that was so quick to say, oh, I'm falling in love with her. Oh, we're going to get married. Oh, we're going to have this whole magical dream and happily ever after. But is that realistic? Her family is obviously very skeptical about it. And
that did not sit well with Rachel either. And I think that's what I'm talking about. And we have a clip right here of Brian gets up where he leaves the table, and then Rachel wants to have it out with her family. Like, why aren't you treating my guy well enough here?
She was extremely upset over
Take a
this.
look.
Take a look.
What qualities does she accentuate in you? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's a valid point. He wants to get to know, you know, what the specifics are about the relationship and wants to get down to brass tacks.
Okay. Would you guys excuse me for a second?
No worries.
All right, thank you.
All right.
I was very excited to introduce Brian to my family, but I felt like my excitement wasn't reciprocated by my family. You know, all these questions are being fired at Brian. I'm frustrated. I'm irritated at this point. You know, Brian is fine, but I am frustrated because the energy is totally different than it was the other 2 days with Peter and Eric.
I'm like really low-key annoyed, but I'm not even gonna go into that.
But you know your family.
It's not that though. He answered like that should have been it.
That's your opinion. We need to get to a comfort level. You have to understand you are in a bubble. We are outside that bubble. And so the way we see things, we have to get clarity.
What more did you need to know? No other question was relevant. He was
You're
open.
approaching it from an emotional perspective.
You are.
No, I'm not.
Take a second.
No, I'm not.
Hold on. Your reaction to your mother right now is extremely emotional.
No, I don't understand.
And so she's
why.
trying to explain it right now.
And I don't understand you either, though.
Wow. So you can clearly tell that Rachel is extremely defensive over Brian.
Yeah, what's up with Brian getting up from the table? You saw the tweet there.
Yeah, so you saw that tweet down there. What's Brian doing? Is he going to go use a lifeline, phone a friend? Well, I had to do my little bachelor research.
Yeah,
and,
you're in depth.
I don't know if anyone else caught this. Brian's Instagram photo that he posted last night of himself, down there, one of the hashtags says, hashtag, I got up to talk to her dad. So the way the scene was just shot,
it looks like he is getting up to avoid that question. It looks like he's like, you know what? I've had enough. I'm out.
But really, he was just getting
magic,
up.
TV magic
TV
right
magic,
there.
I mean, tricks us to think that he's just getting up to get out of the situation. But no, he actually went to go talk to Rachel's dad, who was apparently there.
I was going to say, we saw the uncle, but why don't we see the dad?
We don't see the dad. Our dad is a federal judge. I just don't think he wanted to be involved in the show on camera. But I do think he was there now. Obviously, he must have been there and talked to all three of the guys. It just wasn't on camera. That's what I got from that Instagram post.
Wow,
Thanks, Brian.
So now you saw some of those tweets right there, and these moments with Brian and these moments with Peter especially are some of what have been popping off on social media. So let's go to our social media correspondent, Emily Shapiro. She's somewhere with a bunch of roses following around her. Hey, Emily.
Guys. So last night,
what were people talking about? Go for it.
The talk was all about Peter versus Brian on these hometown dates. I gotta say, there was really nothing about Eric. People were really convinced it's gonna be Peter versus Brian in the end. But you guys, I want to start with my favorite tweet from last night. It is epic. So you guys remember Tanner Tolbert from Tanner and Jade, Bachelor in Paradise?
Of course.
So he tweeted out, so the lawyer Bachelorette likes the smooth-talking guy from the Southeast over the dude from Wisconsin. Feels like I've seen this one before, which is obviously, throwing some shade from Andi Dorfman's season when she picked Josh from Atlanta over Nick, also from Wisconsin. So I think that's Tanner's way of also predicting Brian is going to beat out Peter in the end.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Nick Viall there being like, yeah, things work out.
Well, I mean, because Nick Viall is essentially Peter, Josh is essentially Brian, the smooth talker. Peter and Nick are both from Wisconsin, so and then Andi was a lawyer. I mean, it's almost the same situation you have going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's absolutely fantastic.
That's like a Game of Thrones sort of connection with lots of blue Twitter verification check
with a lot of blue check marks there.
That's the level of depth we are taking you guys right now.
So Emily, how are the tweets about Peter? I mean, I want to talk about Peter and
Mel, what you were saying about Peter, about the realism, that's exactly what people are saying. I mean, Ali Fedotowsky, our former Bachelorette, said, I appreciate it when people on the show are realistic about it. I like that Peter isn't totally wrapped up in everything, which obviously was the case with last night. But most of the tweets are all about Brian. And Mel, I got to tell you my theory is Brian meeting her friends, that to me sells it that my prediction is right, that Brian is going to win. Because remember back on Ben Higgins' Bachelor season, he did an Indiana hometown date. Do you remember who was picked for that one? Lauren Bushnell met his friends.
Yep.
So some deep cuts. And I totally see what you mean about Rachel saying, if I'm going to introduce one guy to my friends,
it's going to be the one
Brian.
I pick.
And then did you see the body language? When she leaves Eric, they give each other a hug, and she kind of looks after him like, okay, this is done. Brian leaves, and she is just swooning. So this does not surprise me at all that Brian is right now sort of the front runner here.
Right. I mean, I really think you hit the nail on the head there, Emily, with the friends. I mean, why would she show her friends or have her friends be involved if this wasn't the guy that she wanted to stay with? So again, with Ben and Lauren, it's the same thing. It's almost like it makes it obvious, but does it make it too obvious? Does it make it too obvious?
I mean, the thing is, though, viewers, I think, still are not liking Brian as much as Peter. I think they still think he's, being too charming with his words. I mean, even Rachel's sister called him out on it. People were tweeting about that last night, how Rachel's sister called Brian out for just, always having an answer for everything.
And when lawyers call you out for that, that's a problem.
Right.
If lawyers are upset with you for having too many good answers, that's
Brian always knew exactly what to say to make himself stand out and seem better and seem like he was gonna win the game. This is a game.
To me and the viewers,
like a game.
Yeah,
and
I thought this,
girlfriend.
And viewers thought this too. That he was kind of putting on a show. Like he was kind of on his A game that whole hometown. He didn't really seem just to relax at all and be himself.
Right,
Tons of tweets too about Rachel's sister. You guys, people want her to have her own show. People want her to be giving dating advice. I love that.
That's awesome. I mean, I thought her sister was great. I thought her mom was great too, and I especially like this one moment with Peter and her mother. I mean, Peter really laid out there, how he feels about the situation, what he sees for the future, and Rachel's mom seemed to love it. We have that clip that we want to show you guys too. We got it, I promise.
It's coming. It's coming. It's on the way, and it's essentially Peter saying, "Listen, this will happen when it happens, and I want you to, I want you to support us, but I'm
Right.
not about to ask for your permission for something that I don't know.
Right, exactly.
We got it now. Check it out.
What you want to propose to Rachel? What is it about her that would make you want to propose to her?
Again, to speak exactly how I'm feeling, I really do care about your daughter. I've developed very strong feelings for her, and I want to pursue a relationship with her. And at the end of this, we'll be given the opportunity to do that. But it is through a ring and proposing. And I don't necessarily know that in 2 weeks I could feel that certainty. So I actually came in today wondering, should I ask for you and your husband's blessing? And I don't want to do that today because I want to wait until I know for certain that your daughter is the person for me.
Which I like, because at this point, speaking for her father, I'm comfortable with that. But in dating, I would hope that the dating is as serious as marriage.
Yeah.
Because I would be, in saying I agree that I'm giving you my permission to date my daughter, you're playing with her heart and her feelings. And I would hope that you would hold that dear.
All right, well, that is Peter's hair growing whiter by the second as he talked to Rachel's mom. But again, I think the family ended up seeming like, well, he's being honest with us, and we appreciate that.
Exactly, and I think our family really did appreciate that. That's why I think out of all 3 dates, I think Peter really won it. I mean, I think
He seemed
really
the most like an
won them
adult,
over.
like her. I think they think of Peter as her peer, and they like that. So that was Emily Shapiro. Thank you so much, Emily. And now let's go out of the field. Let's go to Joy Marie McKenzie, our correspondent, who's been talking with Bachelor Nation, people watching this series, some of them for the first time through. Joy Marie, what are you hearing?
Well, listen, we are so confused. For the first time, I feel like Rachel is not doing what I want her to do. I agree with you guys back in the studio that Rachel really does love Brian, and I'm very disappointed in her because I want her to choose Peter, who seems like he takes, I want her to, I want her to choose Peter. It seems like he's taking this the most seriously, and so I'm a little disappointed in Rachel.
Yeah, Brian definitely cannot be who wins the show. I mean, I love Eric, don't get me wrong, but I know he's not at a place for marriage. No. But Peter is, but he's just not trying to rush it, and she wants him to say it right now. Right. So it doesn't mean he doesn't feel that way. It's just that he doesn't feel that way right now. He wants to get there organically, which is respectable.
Every woman wants. Okay, so let's run through last night, because it was our first time seeing, fantasy suites, and I have tons of questions, and hopefully Mel and Brad, you can answer them for me, about does everyone get a fantasy suite? Does everyone get a key? Does everyone get to spend the night? I mean, I hope so. But I don't know, so you have to answer that for me later. But okay, so let's run down. Eric. Not it.
No, Eric, unfortunately, even though I like him for her, and I think that she really brings out a lot of fun in him. He's not ready for her type of, what her marriage will look like.
No. But I think the next woman that Eric is with, he'll marry her.
Yes. And they'll have
a
beautiful family, but not right now. Not with Rachel.
Okay, so now let's get to Peter, who had an amazing date per usual.
Yes.
Yes, and I love Peter.
Oh, Peter.
Yes. And I kind of like the fact that he's not trying to rush and promise her that he'll get down on one knee. That is admirable.
Right.
And this is what makes me finally understand why Rachel is single. You can't rush love, and I feel like she wants it so bad. And I know last week I said that she deserves a proposal at the end of this, but if you have a guy like Peter and he's saying, listen, I do want to do this, but maybe not in the time frame, I think you should hear him out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you have to respect everybody's process, and if he has to take a few more steps to get where you are, then you should allow him to get there. As long as it's not, you can't just date to date, though. Like, it has to be, a process.
I agree. And that's why her mom was like, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so can we talk about Brian going home to meet Rachel's family? I think Rachel's family said what we all were thinking. I don't think Brian's gonna go home, unfortunately. I mean, I think he's slicker than a can of oil. I think that he's way too slick.
He kissed her the first night that he met her. Like, I mean,
not forget.
I know ladies like control, and when guys take control and all of this stuff, but that's just too hot and heavy for me. Like, I don't need you to look at me and say, oh my God, I fell in love with you when I saw you.
Yes, and that's what her sister, Constance, who we do want to get a show.
Her own show, please.
You
I want
agree,
to see
Emily?
Constance every week. I want to see Constance. I want to see the baby. I feel like I'm part of their family now.
I want Constance to fix my life.
Yes.
So.
She needs, she definitely needs her own show.
Yeah.
But even her husband
he was great
very
too.
even keel, very like supportive, and he was very, very concerned about Rachel.
Overprotective.
Yes, and he wants her to just see things through reality and not through emotion, which was dope. So
okay, nice. We have to wrap it up, but if you could make Rachel choose one person, who would it be?
Anybody but Brian.
I agree. I agree. Back to you guys.
Well, I love everything you guys were saying. And, Joy Marie, I really want to answer your question about the fantasy suite. So it is a very interesting time in the series. So the final 3, men or women, always get asked if they would like to be in the fantasy suite. So it's obviously up to the bachelor or bachelorette to ask if they would like to stay the night with them.
She can issue the invitation.
She can issue the invitation. If she doesn't, then they're not going to get to stay the night together. But she will decide if she wants to offer them a key to forego their individual suites and go into the fantasy suite. Now, a lot of
Basically,
times
what happens there is you just lie around and then you get coffee the next morning.
Right, exactly.
That's all I saw.
That's all that we
That's
see.
all I saw last night.
So a lot of times they do the fantasy suites, but Emily Maynard, she actually forego the entire situation because of her daughter. She didn't want her daughter to know that she spent the night with 3 different men. And so,
Rachel does not have a problem with
Rachel,
that.
she's fine with that. Most of them are fine with it, but yeah, I mean, it's up to the bachelor or the bachelorette how they want to handle it. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I totally agree with you about Brian.
I hope I see more fantasy suites.
Oh yes, so to be continued. Thanks again so much, Joy Marie. We always love your first
guys.
look. It's great. But yeah, so to be continued.
Yeah.
Is how it ends. So we only saw really one fantasy suite because it ended mid-date with Peter.
Yeah, we don't know how this thing is going to end up
No.
with Peter. The one mistake Peter has made, by the way, that camouflage pocket on
that
his
was interesting.
polo shirt. So I mean, he's not perfect.
He's not perfect,
every
Peter.
moment
He can't
of
be
every
perfect
day.
Peter anymore.
But we still have yet to see exactly what's going to happen with him, and then of course with Brian's date, which I guess should take us to No Way Rosé.
Exactly. So I mean, we've been talking Peter, Brian. No Way Rosé. We said it last week. We'll say it again. Eric.
I'm sorry.
So I mean, it's
Sorry,
so
buddy.
awful because he's going to get so crushed by this. I mean, this is like his first time falling in love. He's so happy, so excited. He thinks this is it. It's finally happening. I've been waiting all this time for a family. I've been waiting all this time for this girl, and she's finally here, and now it's going to get ripped away.
Yeah, and when we look ahead to next episode, by the way, before we get into promo power, let's just show you this clip of Brian talking to Rachel's family about his mom, and this might give us a hint of sort of where we might go.
Where we might go with
Check
this.
It out.
Check it out.
I'm actually my mom's only child, which she got to meet her last week.
I did.
I love my mother dearly. She is the #1 woman in my life always, so the unconditional love is always going to be there. I see the way my dad is with her. She's his rock, and that's what I'm ready for. Like, I want to love the same woman over and over again for the rest of my life and, start a family, build a legacy. I have a tremendous amount of love for this woman right next to me, and I know, this whole process, you guys probably are a little bit skeptical on it, but...
Yeah, especially when you say love.
Especially when you say love, yes, I totally understand that, but I don't want any of the distractions to make it think that it's not real. Like, when we come together, I mean, she'll probably tell herself, it's like we forget about everything.
You mentioned you were close to your mother, which I love.
Yes.
In a marriage, when your wife and your mother bump heads, where is,
Where does the loyalty lie?
Yes. Where's the loyalty?
I love my mother, but at the same time, she would be my wife, and that's something that's where my loyalty would lie. If they do bump heads, it's a situation where I don't want that to be a strained relationship. I would want them to work things out.
But if you can't, where's the priority?
He said loyalty's with the wife.
Yeah, the priority is with...
He said it. Right.
Yeah, the priority is with the wife. I mean, obviously, that's definitely where it should be.
But the wife does come.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's,
We're just making Constance's face right now because
that's more like...
Because that's how I feel about that. So, No Way Rosé, I want to say No Way Rosé to Brian's mother. Like, that's what I want to say right there.
The fact that a family 1,000 miles away in Dallas, Texas, can get a whiff of just how how Brian's family...
How much of a red flag
is going to color everything about their relationship in the future. Like, that's all you need to know.
Oh, it's bad. So, like, I want to give my no way rosé to Brian, but I feel like it's going to be Eric.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Eric. It has to do with, I think, age and personality and just kind of like those doe-ish eyes that he's carrying. Right. I think that she loves it right now, but it's not, if you're talking about husband material,
she doesn't see a serious future with him at this time, like she does with Brian and Peter. So, I mean, we got to get to promo power, because that promo last night, I mean, it ends, the last episode ended to be continued. It ended with Rachel breaking down in tears, basically saying what Peter is saying to her is absolutely devastating. Yeah. The fact that he doesn't know if he's going to be ready to get engaged. And apparently an engagement means two completely different things to Rachel and Peter.
The fact that Peter is basically like, I will, I want to get engaged when I feel like I'm ready to get married, which I don't know, I thought that's what an engagement
makes
sense to me. No, Rachel believes that you get engaged when you finish a television show called The Bachelorette.
Exactly.
That's how she views engagement at this point. And I don't know if that's how she's always felt, or if that's, you're in this closed bubble like your family talked about. But at one point he's like, I mean, I want to compromise, but no, not on this.
It's
like, I want to get engaged when I want to get engaged, and there's no
and I mean, I think that's the biggest issue, is that Rachel came on the show because she wanted to 100% get engaged by the end of it, or else why would she be here, is what's in her mind. Yeah. But I think she found a great guy in Peter, who's actually someone that's finally taking this seriously, and she should...
You girls all love him and his camouflage pocket. You guys are all like, I would wait
for him. So I just don't get it. But there is one other thing that we all see in promo power that we obviously all know by the to be continued of the episode. The finale consists of 3 of the final men.
And again, Bachelor historian Nell Griffin.
I'm baffled.
Unusual.
Like, my head is spinning from this whole situation. I mean, we have fantasy suite dates after meeting the parents. We have 3 guys left on the finale.
So, like, fast and furious. I mean, you imagine, do you think rose ceremony and then all of a sudden it's down to 2 guys and they just cram it all into one episode?
I think that's what's going to happen, because, I mean, there was no way they could have had the fantasy suite dates, meeting the parents, and a rose ceremony all in one episode. So I knew we were going to have 3 guys at the finale. So I think they're going to have to finish the fantasy suite dates. We still have to finish and see what happens with Peter. Yeah. We have to have Brian's fantasy suite date and a rose ceremony.
And if the show is all about getting down on one knee and proposing to this woman, we know 2 guys are down.
Right.
And we don't know about the other guy.
We just don't know about the other one.
And that is what we will end up seeing, of course, after a week in which we see the Bachelor's tell-all.
We got to see the men tell-all first. You saw that promo, too. That was half a promo power last night, was that exciting men tell-all. We got to see what they've been up to, what they really have to say about Rachel and each other. That's always very dramatic.
All right. It's jam-packed. We will be there with you every step of the way. I'm Brad. That's Mel.
We'll see you next time.